Hello, thank you for checking in. Tonight I am off to Welwyn Garden City, and I'm particularly excited tonight because I'm going to be doubling. For any of you who aren't sure what that is, it means that rather than doing one gig tonight, I'm off to do two. So I'm going to open at the Barn Theatre before doing a second, slightly more strange gig, which I will come back to in a minute. I'm very much looking forward to this. For pro comedians, it's kind of a normal thing to go and do more than one gig in an evening, and I guess it's what makes the job viable, is having the opportunity to earn two fees rather than just one. But for acts at my level, where I'm just sort of breaking through into paid work, it's pretty uncommon because obviously I can't be, usually on a bill, I'll be the middle act, and I can't be the middle act on two bills at the same time. I have done a little bit of doubling before, things like in Edinburgh where you do one gig and then you dash off to another one. But this just feels different. And it feels, to be honest, like there's quite a responsibility to make sure that I get out the door, stick to timings, get out the door, make sure that I'm in the next place at the right time. But still, looking forward to seeing what that's like. I'm opening, as I said, at the Barn Theatre, and I'm very much looking forward to that. It's for a guy called Eamon Goodfellow, who's a great comedian. I've gigged with him quite a few times now, and he runs good nights as well. I've done his night down in London in Covent Garden, last at the Lamb, which is slightly surreal, but a very good night nonetheless. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this one holds. The second gig that I will then be dashing off to is a little bit more bizarre. It's a private gig for a man who has a pub in the bottom of his garden, to which he has invited 12 of his friends for an evening out, and decided to put on some entertainment, and the entertainment is me. When I first got told about this or asked about this gig, it was through a friend of mine, and he just said, it's a private half an hour set, Saturday night. Initially I thought I couldn't do it because I was already booked to do Welwyn, but when I looked at actually where it is, it's about 15 minutes up the road, and I thought I'd be mad to turn that down. But actually then when they sent through the details, it said half an hour of an adult comedian for a men-only audience of 12. Which to me sounds like it could be potentially disastrous. So I rang the guy and spoke to him, and he has put my mind at rest just a little bit. It turns out adult comedian, I think, means doesn't matter if you swear. And the men-only audience are men who, turns out, know each other because their children all go to the same school together. So it doesn't sound quite so intimidating, but I am worried that really what they're going to be after is lots and lots of sort of participation and crowd work. And it's something I'd spoken in a previous video about. That is something that I've been working on and I'm aware of, that I want to try and develop a little bit more. But it's not something that I do all of the time. So I'm just going to go and see how it goes. I mean, the guy did reassure me on the phone by saying, you won't get any grief, mate, even if it's rubbish. So that is a ringing endorsement, if ever I heard one. So I'm going to get on the road. I'm going to go and do the Barn Theatre and then head off to this second gig. I'm feeling fairly confident. I've just come off the back of a couple of good gigs in the last couple of nights, so I'm sure, you know, what's the worst that can happen. I'm feeling fairly good about it, although in a few hours time my confidence might not be quite so high. We'll find out. Wow. So I've just come off stage at the Barn Theatre, where I had, honestly, what I think is probably one of the best gigs that I've ever done. It was just right. I did 20 minutes. I open now with a new bit where I talk about sort of asking the audience how they are, and then talking about how as comedians we don't really care what the answer to that is. And I was a little bit worried as I was going through that bit that I wasn't going to get them. And then the moment that punchline came for that bit, they were just fully on board, and I felt like I had them right the way through. In fact, there was bits where they were ahead of the game and they were laughing at stuff as I was doing the setups, and it was just, I could sit back and relax and just enjoy it, really take my time to let them laugh. It was great. Loved it. But you see, usually after I've been on stage, I would then, maybe get a drink in, sit back and enjoy the rest of the show. But tonight I can't do that because I've come on to this second one where I've got to go into a house just over there and sit in somebody's pub shed at the bottom of their garden and try and entertain their friends. I just phoned my wife and was telling her what a good experience I've just had of the gig at the barn, and I was like, yeah, but that's how these things work. You watch me now go and die on my ass for half an hour. So you can't even sit back and dwell on it for 20 minutes, although I did love that, and fortunately just before it started realised that it might be a good one to record, so I managed to quickly set up a camera and my phone and film that gig. So I will have that one, and I think that will be a really good one now to be able to send out to promoters and hopefully get a few more gigs off the back of it. I'm pretty sure this next one is not going to be the same, but I better go and face the music and see what it's like, and I will tell you all about it when I'm finished. Well, I survived. I suppose that is a victory in itself. Very, very strange, and obviously very different from the previous gig that I did tonight. I suppose the weirdest thing is when I first turned up, the guy who had booked me, I managed to seek him out, and he seemed very, very keen that I wouldn't just get on with doing the set, but I would have a beer with them all and have a chat, and I was not up for that at all. I don't think that really sets the tone, so I settled for setting up my equipment. I bought a speaker and a microphone, not in any way, shape or form because it was needed for amplification, but really just as a safety net for me, just as some kind of like trying to make it feel like a usual gig. And also I suppose it establishes if I've got the microphone, I am in control, so you will listen to me because I'm speaking and I've got the microphone. So there was a little bit of that going on. I wanted to make sure that I had a microphone and it didn't feel any weirder than it actually had to, but it was still an odd experience. I did have to sort of chat to them all a little bit before, and you start as you mean to go on, kind of trying to make them laugh and trying to win them over a little bit, and obviously I had them coming up kind of going, oh mate, that's Andy over there, make sure you pick on Andy, which in all honesty terrified me because it's not what I do. I'm not a particularly confrontational comedian. I'm not trying to be abrasive. I'm not trying to put people on the spot in that way. So I was just very worried that I was not going to live up to their expectations. So I started as quickly as I possibly could, talked to the guy who had booked me about having a pub in his garden and how that was weird, talked to a few of them as well, and just tried to make it. What I tried to do was talk to them about things that I knew would then lead me on to a bit of material. And what tended to happen was they really laughed at the stuff that was about them. They could take or leave some of the jokes that were from my normal set. So some of them worked, some of them got good laughs, some of them not really at all. And then I would just kind of move on to the next guy. I think there was 12 people in the room and I spoke to 8 of them. Which I suppose is not too bad from a point of view of trying to do a bit more crowd work. There was a guy who was a tennis coach, who was talking about how he had a 15-year-old babysitter. So obviously we talked about how inappropriate he probably is. There was a guy who, for a job, said that he was a flower importer. So I deliberately misunderstood that and imagined that he was importing white powder and all the things that could mean. So, we had a bit of fun, and generally they liked me saying offensive things to them. And as I say, they could take or leave the material a little bit. One of the things that I did find really bizarre is that I do a joke in my set about working in a school, where I talk about how one of the little girls was being taught sex education by a colleague of mine, and she asked the question,
"Miss, is it okay when you start your period to still go swimming?" I said, "Oh, thank God that was you got that question, because I would be like, well, make sure there were no sharks."
Did that joke in a room full of lads, and they all sort of went, oh, mate, you can't say that. And I was, is that too much? And they went, yeah, well, it is a bit, mate, isn't it? You can't really say that. And I just found that really bizarre. I found that really bizarre that they seemed to want me to use lots of foul language and be abusive towards them, and be mean about them all together as a collective, but I cannot mention the word period, because that is just too much and very, very offensive. So that was quite funny. And obviously, as much as possible, you try and tailor your set to what you think the audience is going to laugh at and enjoy. But I just kind of tonight just got through as best I could. Although I will say, I got to a point, and I hadn't done, because of doing a bit more crowd work and a bit more interaction, I hadn't done all of the material that I was going to do, and thought, I'll just check how long I've got left. And I reckon I probably had, from what I planned to do, maybe another 7 or 8 minutes worth of material. And I checked my watch and only had 2 minutes left to do. So actually, it flew by pretty well. And overall, with the 2 gigs tonight and being able to double, tonight has been absolutely amazing. I've had so much fun. I just hope that the next one can carry on this good feeling. Either way, I will be taking you along with me, so please do subscribe to the channel if you want to check that one out as well. But for now, I'm going to head home and bask in the glory of the earlier gig and try and forget as much as I can from the second one. All right, thanks very much for watching. I will see you again.